Hello, my name is Dr. Munim. I'm a medical doctor working in the United Kingdom. I'd like to talk about an atrocity which I witnessed myself during my work in Iraq, in the Iraq-Iran war, and I was conscripted as a medical doctor there, in the front line in the war with Iran. In 1986, I worked in Sulaimaniya Military Hospital as a doctor. There, I witnessed the most ferocious atrocity in human history committed against a prisoner, an Iranian prisoner of war. I witnessed a patient who was injured in he had head injury with shrapnel penetrating his head. He was he was unconscious. He was very badly treated. He was maltreated in the hospital. Nobody looked after him. He was left isolated in separate area and was only given intravenous fluids with no access to any investigations such as CT scans or any surgical intervention or any antibiotic treatment. I used to change his intravenous fluids myself as the nurses were not, the military nurses were not interested in doing that. All what they wanted him to do is to die. He was monitored also by an intelligence soldier from the Iraqi intelligence, and when I used to approach that patient to treat him, the intelligence person would come closer to make sure that I do not communicate with him in any way. One day the intelligence department sent some officers and soldiers, and they wanted to take the patient to the intelligence department for interrogation before he dies. I felt that this was very cruel, and this is against human this was against human rights and and Geneva Convention for treatment of prisoners of war. I told them that this is not right, as the patient is likely to die, and in any way he is unable to be interrogated or to give any confessions. But they were not interested in that. All what they wanted is to interrogate him under force, to try and get any information about the Iranian position in the front lines. I told them that I need to speak to the commander of the hospital, who was a doctor in the rank of general. I knew that doctor in person. He was somebody who was from Mosul, and he lived in a suburb of Baghdad called Adamiyah. He was of Sunni sect. Of course, he was himself biased against the Iranians, given that the Iranians were of Shia origin. So I told him that this is unfair, it's against human rights that this patient is taken by the intelligence department, and I asked him in the name of humanity that this patient is kept in hospital, and if he is going to die, then he should die peacefully in the hospital and not taken to the intelligence department for interrogation. He laughed at me, and he was sarcastic, and he said, if they want him, let them take him. Do not object to that, otherwise you'll put yourself in trouble. So after my insisting, he refused to keep the patient in hospital. Unfortunately, the patient was taken away by the intelligence department. I do not know what happened to him afterwards, but I'm sure he would have died during the transfer. So I thought I would talk about this. I would mention this atrocity to prisoners of war done by the criminal regime of Saddam, and I feel that this was against the human rights, against the it's a crime against humanity, and it is against Geneva Convention for the treatment of prisoners of war. Unfortunately, Saddam ignored all conventions, all Geneva Conventions, all human rights laws, and he had no respect for humanity. I thought I would get the message across to whoever hears me or listens to my story. Thank you.